This game has been on my to-review list for a long time now, but I just never got around to replaying it for footage. Well, that changed a few weeks ago when I decided to go through the story again, so I can finally talk about it. That game, in case you're illiterate or just clicking random videos and not reading the titles, is Recettear, an item shop's tale. It's a play on words, which will become evident once I explain the plot of the game. Said plot involves a young girl named Recette, who is very lazy but incredibly cheery, always seeing the good in everything. Her father had set out on a quest to slay a dragon, but it's speculated that he didn't succeed. A fairy named Tyr meets up with Recette and gives her the shocking news that her father accumulated a massive debt, and since Recette is family, the debt moves on to her, and it's now required to be paid back in full. Since Recette doesn't have a job or really any other way of supporting herself, Tyr suggests that they turn the family home into an item shop and sell wares to pay off the debt in weekly increments. Recette creates a sign to hang over the shop, calling it Recettear, a combination of both of the owners' names. Tyr has some concern over the name though, thinking that it might be mispronounced and could be construed as Racketeer, which could also be thought of as an appropriate name if you really think about it. There are two different styles of gameplay with Recettear, the actual item shop management and the dungeon crawling. That's right, dungeon crawling. See, there's two different ways that you can obtain products for sale. You can do the basic trading with local vendors and buy wares to resell at your shop. Of course, doing this, your profits may be limited. By dungeon crawling though, you'll be able to enlist the help of an adventurer and follow them in their wake, picking up any items that may be dropped, as long as you have the room for them in your bag. The danger to this is that if you fall, you can only bring out one item from the dungeon, so that's something to keep in mind. I'll get more in depth on the dungeon exploration in a bit. The majority of the game revolves around selling stuff, and the game takes a day-by-day approach to this. Each day is split into 4 sections. Anytime you open up shop, it eats up one part of the day. If you go out into town to check the vendors, or complete an optional scene to learn more of the story, that's another piece. Although you can combine all of the outdoor events into one piece since time only moves if you enter one of these places. For example, if you leave your shop and then enter the Merchants Guild, the church, and the outdoor vendors, they'll only eat up one piece of the time pie. If you leave your shop and then re-enter it without going anywhere, no time will pass. Think of it as just getting fresh air. However, anytime you enter a dungeon, that's going to use up 2 chunks of time. So if you go outside, hit the Merchants Guild, and then enter a dungeon, that's going to be 3 timepieces. It may sound confusing, but I assure you that you'll learn the mechanics of it quickly. When you're in your shop, you have the option to put out any product that you'd like onto the display tables. At the start, only products that are displayed can be sold, but later on, customers may request other items that aren't shown. In addition, putting things in window spots can help allure more customers to your shop. Customers will approach Recette and attempt to purchase something. It's up to Recette to choose the sale price. There's a decent tutorial to show you how to do all of this, and Tyr says that a 30% markup is the standard, but I found that you don't necessarily want to stay with that. You'll learn that different customers have different prices in their mind, and by overshooting them too much, they may leave without buying anything at all. The man typically can handle 125%, and the Merchant Guild leader is cool with the 130. But the young poverty-stricken girl and even the starting adventurer Louis don't have a lot of money and will sometimes fight you for less than 115% of the price. You may want to choose to start high and just haggle down a bit lower, but there's a reason you may want to try for the best price in the first try, your merchant level. As Recette sells stuff, she earns XP, which fills up her merchant level bar in the bottom left of the screen. At each level up, there's a new benefit that is given to her. At the start, it's just simple things, like adding more things to the item vendors, allowing you to use fusion at the Merchants Guild to craft unique items, and the ability to buy items from your customers at a reduced rate that you can normally find them at the item stalls in town. But later level ups give her the ability to enlarge her shop a few times, add in vending machines to quickly sell stuff you don't feel like bartering over, and even allowing you to take out more items in the dungeons. Every sale will net you 10 XP, but if you can get the fair price bonuses on consecutive customers, the bonus will keep doubling, up to I think 128 per customer. So you can gain some really quick levels early on if done right. You may think that you're losing money little by little on these customers, but the perks that you earn are definitely worth it. Another reason you might want to go easy on your sales is that when your adventurers are trying to purchase equipment, you can opt to bring gear with you on your dungeon crawling excursions, but that's usually using up valuable slots to bring out any gear you can sell. Instead, it's best to give them the gear at a much reduced rate, because any gear that's sold to an adventurer is equipped permanently, or at least better stuff is sold to them. So let's talk about the dungeons for a bit. Early on, you're given the rundown on them, explaining that although Recettear and Tyr can't go in the dungeons themselves, they can hire an adventurer to essentially escort them through the dangerous areas. At first, you can only have Louis, but there's probably close to about 10 different characters you can unlock in various ways. Unfortunately, I didn't get half of them in this time playing it. Louis is probably one of the easier characters to use though, since he has a nice range with his sword and high HP. Charm is a thief and has daggers, so her range kinda sucks, but she can run around and attack quicker. Kailu is a mage that replenishes his SP by striking enemies with his rod, but being a mage, he's pretty fragile. There's lots of other characters that you can find too, that all have their strengths and weaknesses, and all of them are leveled up independently. So even though you might have some higher level dungeons unlocked, it may not be wise to throw a level 10 character through them at the start. Anyway, once you hire a character, you can choose to bring items along to equip them, although I never once did so. Then you start exploring the dungeons. These are randomly generated, and can only be exited every 5 levels. There are also bosses at every 5 levels, hence the potential exits. Once bosses are defeated, they remain dead, but there are boss rushes available for those who wish to basically waste 2 sections at a time. I recommend only doing this on New Game Plus. Many items that are found down here can be used immediately if you need them, like the HP healing fruits. You can also be completely healed upon leveling up your character. Just killing enemies doesn't give you XP. You have to collect the gems that are scattered. Not like that's a big thing though, because most of these will be attracted to your character immediately. Doing things like counterattacks, side attacks, and back attacks will net you bonus XP as well. In order to proceed in the dungeons, you just need to find the glowing rune on the floor. This will warp you to the next one. Again, at every 5 levels, you'll find a rune and also a door, which can allow you to exit the dungeon and save your progress. When starting a dungeon run, you can start at any section of the dungeon that you've reached, so if you're struggling in a certain group, you can rerun through a previous one and grind a bit. As for the gameplay itself, it's a fairly standard overhead action mechanic, not unlike old school Zelda games. In fact, I always thought that the game's graphics in these spots looked like ordered PS1 or GBA style graphics. They do the job, but they aren't exactly crisp or detailed. Sure, everything looks fine, but it just doesn't have that same level of detail that many other AAA titles have. But then again, this was an indie game, so what do you expect? And as I said, I'm not saying they're bad. They just have that older look to them. You might think that you'd be spending a good chunk of time in the dungeons, but that's really up to you, as the story mode could actually be completed without entering the dungeons more than maybe the one time required to show you how it works. That's because you can easily make a profit by using the other 2 vendors to supply your shop. I know what you're thinking. How is that possible? Simple, actually. The price fluctuations. Every once in a while, you'll see a blue news banner pop up on the screen. Sometimes it's useless info, but other times it may tell you that a certain product or type of sales item has changed in price. Anything in blue shows that the price has dropped, and red shows that it's increased. You might think that just buying blue items and waiting until their price normalizes is the best strategy, but I found I made most of my money by purchasing the items with the red designations. That's because for the small increase in wholesale price, you can really jack up the retail price. Anything in red can typically be sold with at least 100% markup, doubling what you paid for it, if not tripling. I typically aimed for items priced at 250% and made some major bank on it. Those relics that your adventurers often sold you for 8,000 picks? How about selling them for 20 grand? And if the owner of the rival store Big Bash comes in, you know you can probably sell for 300% plus. Seriously, this is how you make some serious money quickly. So what happens if you can't pay off the debt on the required day? Not all is lost. You lose all of your cash, but keep your items and start again at day 1. Recettear shows a depressing scene of her losing her house and living in a cardboard box, but then wakes up thinking it was a dream. You then get to try again. Due to the way that this works, if you feel that you're not going to be able to pay off the installment that week, you don't want to sell anything. Instead, you actually want to purposely bankrupt yourself by purchasing whatever goods you can, since those transfer over to the next attempt. So you can set yourself up with a huge head start by playing ahead this way. There's going to be a lot of story elements to be found, and many of them are fairly humorous. There's no animation in these scenes, opting for static character drawings, but they do the job. The opening interaction where Recette realizes that she has to work shows the kind of comedy that you'll be in for. You'll find Alouette, the Big Bash Harris, spying on you in what looks to be an Amazon box, straight out of Metal Gear Solid. The android Arma has a great banter with Recette, as she doesn't understand how buying items works, and almost walks out without purchasing an item. Kailu thinks that Recette is just a lazy cashier and has an awesome set of lines if you have all the items he requires right off the bat when he requests them. It's this kind of stuff that helps flesh out Recettear a lot, bringing you outside more not just to check out local wares, but also to see if there's any available scenes. Again though, be mindful of time. In this playthrough, I opted to save most of the story segments until post-debt. If there's one thing I gotta whine about, it's the music. It's not bad and it does the job, but I didn't find it terrific or anything. It's just there. As for the sound effects, well, all the voices are in Japanese, which is understandable considering that the game was localized by a two-person team named Carpet Folder. But since it does have Japanese roots, everything has that anime feel to it, and when attacking, your character's always gotta spout some sound effect. I usually had music playing in the background, so I didn't notice it too much, but if you're only listening to the game, I could imagine it getting annoying. The only other thing to really complain about is that once you know the sweet spots for prices on each type of customer, there's really no reason to venture from that. You can try to aim for higher prices, but then you're just sacrificing that merchant XP boost. It would have been nice if each patron had some sort of variable that would affect how much they were willing to spend on an item. Maybe an idea for a sequel? Recettear and Item Shop's Tale is a near-perfect merchant simulation game. It has a great story with characters that each have their own twist. The dungeons give you an option to try getting nearly free gear with a high-risk and reward approach. The variety of patrons allow you to mix your sales tactics and attempt to get the most out of every sale. And the game itself is just plain fun. It may not appeal to everyone, but you'd be doing yourself an injustice by skipping it. It's fairly cheap on Steam and is often on sale, so there's no real reason to not try it. And there's plenty of content, even after paying off the debt, as there's things like more dungeons that only unlock after completion, the survival mode, and of course item completion available. I wholeheartedly recommend this game. Final score? 9 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.